Aloha, back from Hawaii, hoping for a better result, but the result is what it is. We played three really good teams, good moments, some tough moments, and it's November basketball. So we're going to learn from it, we're going to get ready, and we're going to play a very good Irvine team tomorrow night. 6-1, averaging 83 points a game, giving up 58. It'll be a real challenge. They have two really good guards in Baker and Davis. They have a 7-foot center that kind of patrols the paint, and they're playing really good basketball. So any hangover from Hawaii has to end quickly. It has to end tomorrow at tip-off, and we have to be ready to play.
Brian, those are three fun games for the fans back here to watch. Do you think your team answered every question that you name the style of ball, whether it's half court or it's push it or shoot threes that the Aztecs can play? Do you come away from this thing with more positives than negatives?
I mean, we're at a point, Lee, where we want to win those games. And obviously, we want to play up to our potential. Ohio State, we played really good basketball. I mean, they've got one loss on the year, us, and they're one spot below us in the rankings this week, I think at 25. Arizona's number 4 in the country right now and playing really good basketball. And we flew, obviously, shared a charter with Creighton, and they were equally as impressed with Ballo as much as anything, how good he was going against Nate Mensah, the player of the year in the Mountain West, and then Kalkbron from Creighton, the player of the year of the Big East, and he had his way, Ballo. So that was a good test for both of us. Then Arkansas, obviously, I thought we played well enough to win and just let it slip out of our fingers at the very end, and that was very frustrating. I think if we were sitting here with one loss, we'd all be talking about a higher ranking and expectations would grow, but our expectations haven't changed at all. We know we have a good team, but we have to continue to get better, and I think that's the trademark of our program is no matter what November is, we're going to be better in December, better in January, better in February, and really good in March.
How do you keep the late game slip-ups from coming up to bite you in the future? How do you learn from those moving forward?
It's just the human element. You know, it's the beauty of sports. Whether it's the officiating human element, a player's human element, you see it every day in every sport, whether you're watching NFL football or baseball or whatever the sport is. That's the beauty of sports, is the human element. And as much as we put them in positions to be successful, players are going to determine what that success is. And coaches get too much credit and maybe too much blame, but players, you have to put them in position to win, and then they have to win the game, and they have to get the credit when that happens. Obviously, it's college, so as coaches, we want to take the blame because it's a teaching. We're teachers. This is a classroom. So we learned a lesson, and hopefully we'll grow from that lesson and be better as a result of that. But it's a tough game. It's hard to win a college basketball game. That's what I always say.
How much were the guys kicking themselves after that game? And as you said, the hangover can't be present tomorrow night. Are you content that you guys have learned and moved forward?
I mean, practice has been hard. I mean, we obviously took the next day off after the game. We spent a day in Maui and tried to let them unwind a little bit. Obviously, the next day, Friday, was an all-day travel day. You know, didn't get back till 6 at night. And then we had 2 good days of practice. But you can tell they're still dragging a little bit of practice. Today has to be better. And it's not surprising. That's a long trip. You know, I was tired from the trip. It's 72 hours straight of basketball. And as much as everybody thinks we're over in Hawaii just kind of relaxing, that's a lot of basketball in 3 days, especially against the competition we played. So there is going to be a hangover as far as legs, getting back involved, coming down off the disappointment of the loss and getting ready for the next game. So that's on us as coaches to have them ready. And hopefully today's practice will be better than the last 2. They played hard in practice, but I felt as like we were driving the bus. We were really pushing them for effort and that sort of thing, and obviously a player-led team's better. So hopefully they'll step up now that they've had a couple days to be back in town and be better from their end as far as talking, emotionally more involved. They play hard as heck. So I don't want to confuse that like we haven't had good day practices. We've had good practices, but the coaches have been driving that. So now we need the players to step up and drive that themselves today leading in the game tomorrow.
Brian, that was a pretty frenzied atmosphere there. Are you kind of disturbed at what happened at the end and how Musselman has acted? And I don't care what he wrote in his release that he sent out to the media. Are you disturbed that anybody would incite something that could really be bad considering how frenzied that whole atmosphere was?
Yeah, well, first of all, the atmosphere in there is incredible. It's great to play in there. But when it turns the other way, yeah, it's a concern. So I'm responsible for San Diego State's men's basketball team and how we act and behave. And with that being said, I know that there'll be a freshman on the court occasionally, he'll do something, or they'll hear a voice in the stands, and then I try to rein that in. And so Eric Musselman's in charge of Arkansas. So he has to run their program how he sees fit, and obviously answer to his athletic director and his president. So I don't want to comment on their behavior. I just want to say that we behave in a first-class manner, that our kids are gracious in victory and defeat, and that I hopefully set that example by being the same way. I'm not too high or too low. I'm pretty steady, and I think our team reflects that. Obviously, Eric is wired tight. He competes at a high level, whether it's celebrating or it's being mad at a loss. That's his personality, and obviously his team has thrived playing for him. So everybody has a different style of how they coach their team and how they prepare them, but I can only control what I do on the court and what I put out there for our team.
You get alarmed at all because of what happened at Michigan State in college football and all those assaults of the players versus players coming off the field?
Yeah, there's been talk that, the NBA, why are we doing handshake lines at the end of games? Everyone's emotionally charged in a tight game, and you do a handshake line, and it only takes one player to misbehave or one coach to misbehave, and you've got an issue. So maybe in the long run, we have to revisit whether we want to shake hands at the end of the game or just give a wave and leave the floor in either defeat or victory.
They've been doing that for decades. What's that say about society if you have to get rid of something like that?
I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, we're seeing it more and more, though, aren't we? I mean, it's escalating, whether it's a different generation of player. I mean, the game changes, values change, how people approach, showboating. I mean, some of this would never happen, where you get a dunk and everyone's tapping their head or raising their hands. Whether that's instigating or not, who knows? But obviously, people are celebrating things at a higher level, and it's not college; it's every level. And you look to the NBA down, the celebrations are more vivid and expressed. And obviously, the NBA, you look, and every call, there's a player arguing with an official or talking to him. I don't think there was a day an official would listen to one thing a player had to say. Hey, I've heard it. I don't want to hear it. But it's happening at every level. So the games change, how officials deal with players has changed, and how coaches deal with officials and their own teams has changed. So we have to just continue to adapt and see what's in the best interest of the game of basketball, whatever that is.
Do you think it was good for the Aztecs to push for the wall 3 straight nights and learn about themselves? Are you a better team now, plus and minus?
Time will tell. That's the thing. I told them it's easy to say that we're going to use this as a springboard to get better, and we're not going to lose another game. That's all talk in the locker room after a game. But it remains to be seen. I said when we got off the bus, I said, what does lip service mean? Don't pay lip service. And I think AG said, don't talk about it, be about it, which was probably better than lip service. AG knew what that meant. So it's easy to talk about it. We have to be about it. We have to practice hard. We have to get ready to compete at a higher level, knowing that we're not as good as we want to be right now. But I would say 90% of the teams in the country are saying that. It's November basketball. It's not like you're returning 7 guys on an NBA roster. And even with that being said, the world champs, the Warriors, were struggling a week ago. So it's an interesting game and dynamic to have your team playing at a high level all season. I think Arizona's as close as there is to doing that right now. Purdue, obviously, those are teams that we'll see if they climb a level higher. Look out for all of those teams. But maybe they're playing at a level because of their programs and how they're coached. Maybe they're already at peak efficiency, and it might be hard to maintain that. So it's an interesting dynamic in coaching and playing.
In that vein, how do you balance taking what you learned in Hawaii and saying, wow, we were exposed in this area, this area, this area, but also saying, well, we were exposed by the number 4 and the number 11 team in the country, and we're not going to play the 4-11 team in the country until maybe 3 games in the NCAA tournament, and you're not going to play that level of competition.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing. It's like because we've been so good in the Mountain West that we don't, because maybe the teams that were even with us a year ago aren't even. There's other teams that have rose in this league. New Mexico's playing really good basketball. I saw one of their transfers had like 30 and 14 rebounds, and they lacked a big man last year. And now they have the same guards and a big man. So UNLV's undefeated, Nevada's undefeated. And then the teams like Boise and Colorado State that were up there with us last year have suffered a couple losses, but they've got a lot of new pieces. So I would say the Mountain West overall is playing really good basketball. So maybe it will be a league again, even though some of the teams will be different, be a league that could get 3 teams in, 4 teams in. We don't know at this point. Some of the Pac-12 teams have been struggling, and that's basketball. So that's why it's good that our entire league is playing well right now, because we can build some momentum going into our conference, and that's what we want as a league, and that's what we want as our own individual team, the Aztecs.
What did you make of what you saw from Matt Bradley? You seemed more aggressive, scored at a high level against Ohio State, against Arkansas. What did you think of his play in Maui?
Yeah, I always said about Matt, it's not surprising. I knew he was going to hit that level. It's just a matter of when. And that's just timing and confidence. And it's so much as a basketball in any sport we play is confidence. If I used this analogy before. If you miss a 1-foot putt, the next one you have looks 2 feet. And you miss that, it looks 7 feet. So you see a ball go in or a 3-point shot go in, and then the next one goes in, and now you're off and running. You think all of them are going to go in. So that's the fine line of confidence in basketball. And that's the one thing, some of the shots we take, I never try to micromanage, because if a guy doesn't have confidence and then you're telling him not to shoot, then what does it do for his confidence? I've always been a believer that guys know their game, and if they're feeling good about it and they think it's going in, then I have to think it's going in.
What do you make of DJ Davis? Did he play with Lamont?
Yeah, they went to high school together. I think he played with Matt Bradley at a few AAU programs, but my goodness, he crosses midcourt, he might shoot the ball. He's going to shoot it at the hash. He's going to shoot it deep, and he can really shoot the ball. So, we cannot give this team a ton of threes. Baker's very good too. Baker's very savvy, knows how to play, get you off your feet. So this is a dangerous team. You're not 6-1 for no reason. You don't go to Oregon and win at Oregon early in the year and not be good, and then average 83 points a game and only give up 58. So that's not like they're just in a race to outscore everybody. They're playing good defense, and they're scoring. So this is not what I wanted coming back from Maui, but this is what it is. You look at what teams lose, and you think, well, this will be a good game back from Maui. Well, it's going to be a good game, but more than a coach wanted. So we have to be up for the challenge.
What can you say about Russell Turner, who's I think in his 12th or 13th year? You played them a couple of years ago. They gave you a good game during the pandemic before you kind of won going away in the second half. But what can you say of the job he does year in and year out to kind of have that team at the top of the Big West?
Yeah, he's as good a coach as there is. And like I said, when we scheduled him, you always look and see what Irvine has coming back for bigs, because they're known for elite bigs. Yeah. And we looked, and they lost bigs. So he said, well, let's schedule them. They got young bigs. Well, now they're guard-driven. Their guards are incredible. So it just shows his ability to say, I still have a good big, a freshman big, but I can win playing with guards. And he's doing that. And that's, I guess, what the surprise is. Usually Irvine, you think of them, they're a low-post team, dominate inside, go in there and punish you inside. And that's not what they are at all. They're perimeter-based, they're shooting threes, they're sharing the ball, and they're playing really good basketball.